At the end of each month, we upload our actual financials right to our budget projection system. So right now we're reviewing our August financials, how we're doing and where we need to be aware of so that we don't have surprise overspending at the end of the year. So the first thing you want to look at is, or just an executive summary here, most of our revenue and expense accounts are tracking as expected. Remember, it's very early in the year, but there are two areas we're monitoring. The first is our revenue from state sources, and the second are our expenses from purchase services. And you'll see how those things are highlighted and how we're monitoring those as we move through. Our largest expenses, salaries and benefits, are trending as we'd expect. And so that means we're in good shape relative to our largest expenses. Now, the main thing I want to point out is the point of these updates is we're really looking for early indicators, in particular this early in the year, so that we can get ahead of any overspending. It would be very unlikely that someone would have already overspent the budget at this point. In fact, you're going to see even in the areas that there are kind of red flags for, all of those budgets still have significant budget amounts left. They're simply trending in a way that they haven't before. So the first thing we're looking at here, these are our revenue dashboards. And you can see the area that I'm looking at of slight concern anyway is our year-to-date state sources. That's right over here, the purple dashboard. And you can see we haven't received any state sources yet. We were projected to have received through this point about 1.5% of our budget. And here you can see the same information kind of in a bar graph. The projected was about $500,000. We haven't received any yet. Overall, though, here we can tell this is how early it is in the budget year. Here's our revenue for Fund 10, revenue for Fund 27. This long blue line is the budget. And then there's a green and purple bar. It's so early in the year, you can barely even see those. So, this is just an indicator of how early in the year it is. But again, we're going to be digging further into our state revenue. So here we can see the actual dollars. So here are last year through this point, we had received $562,000. Prior year actual is just over 28 million or 28.5 million. This year we've actually have a journal entry. So we're showing a negative revenue and we have a budget of about $32 million. Now, our state sources won't even be finalized until October 15th. That's when we receive our equalization aid amount from the state, and then we're able to reallocate our tax levy and equalization aid to account for those things. When I dive in further to see exactly what this state source is, what it is it's the reimbursement for our county programs. We're 100% reimbursed for those, and we simply haven't received the reimbursement yet. So early indicator, I'm glad that's we have awareness of that. I've actually already contacted the state programs to find out what the timeline is for that payment. Okay, the area that I'm looking at as an early indicator on the expenses is here you can see on our salaries and benefits, we're tracking pretty darn close to where we'd expect. We're at 5.87%. In reality, we were projecting ourselves at 5.78, so we're within a 0.1% there. The area that I have dove into further is other objects. So this could be purchase services, supplies, materials, capital expenditures. So now I need to look further into which of those objects is it. And so to do that, on the next page of our report, again, here we can see the bars. Here's our salary. So you can see the red and blue are very close. So there's no area of concern there. But here we can see the red and blue are projected. It was red. Our actual is blue. So this tells me, hey, I want to get out ahead of this and find which budget managers are trending in a way that we wouldn't have expected. Again, this is our total year to date. So again, very early in the year, but you can see that our projected in the blue and our current and the purple very close together. So overall, we're in good shape. And here's a similar view. The columns on top, prior year to date, prior year actual, and the percent. Current year to date, the budget, and the percent. So here we can see, and this is what in the early indicator, we are trending ahead of where we would have expected on our purchase services. Yet we're not in danger of overspending at this point. We've only spent $3 million out of a $16 million budget. Now, purchase services are things like substitutes, computer software, utilities, legal services, basically anything we pay a service for. Now, when I talk about wanting to get out ahead of something and it being an early indicator, here's where I'm focused. In our purchase services, we can see here last year through this point in time, we had spent $2.3 million. This year, we've spent just over $3 million. However, our software is projecting that if we continue this trend, we're going to spend another $14.4 million right here, which is going to, if all that trend holds up, we will end the year as having spent $17.4 million, which would be over budget by about $1,200,000. So the idea here is I can get out ahead of this 10 months before the year ends. Again, identify which budget managers are doing that spending and find out why that is and what the expectations are the remainder of the year. And now here's the way I do that. I have another report I can look at that we call these our categories. You might think of them as locations, but every category I can look at and see, are they, do they have a red flag or a green flag? And to what extent are we maybe concerned? So for instance, at Eisenhower Elementary, again, really early in the year, but they're actually projecting to underspend their budget by about $7,600. Conversely, Washington, if they keep up the exact same trend, they would be overspending by about $12,000. Now, those things generally aren't material, and I have not seen any history of our buildings generally overspending in any kind of material way. However, the areas I am focused on are these areas of technology, buildings and grounds, and academic performance. And that's because you can see they all are trending right now to have a material projected variance. Okay. Again, none of them have overspent yet, but I want to get out ahead of it, put a yield sign up for them and have some conversations to find out what's going on with their budget. And so the way I do that is this is a report that I give to each of our categories, kind of our divisions. It outlines for them again, high level overview of what they've spent, what their budget is, and how much they have remaining. In this case, we're looking at academic performance. We can see they have a red flag. And this is saying that based on the historical spending, it's anticipated that they'll overspend by $308,000. Okay. So that's the conversation that then I would have with the department manager. We also can see, though, this pie is their entire budget. They have spent 38%. They still have 62% to spend. So at this point in the year, they're not in any real danger at this point. We just want to get ahead of things so that we recognize the trend. Here we can see overall, their budget is $2.1 million, and they've spent $807,000 overall. But right in this area of purchase service, this is the one that we're really keeping our eye on, is they've almost spent that entire budget. So it was really easy for me then to go to, in this case, Nicole, and say, hey, let's talk about your purchase services. And then either her choice will be either to maybe, what she wants to do is reallocate some money from supplies to purchase services. And that would be perfectly normal because what we're trying to do is make sure she lands within that $2.1 million. Conversely, when I talk to our technology department about their spending, what they're telling me is, yes, they have already spent essentially half their budget, but they don't have as many expenditures left in the year as they have in previous years. In other words, they front end loaded many of their expenditures, and that is typical in technology. We want the software, hardware, all those things purchased prior to school starting. So it's pretty normal that they would spend early in the year. and now their expenditures are going to drastically slow down throughout the year. But again, we want to keep our eye on these things so that we're not surprised when we have these early warning systems in place.